So let's just say you use 1,000 kilowatt hours per month of electricity, right? You could find that out by looking over your bill or your past few bills. You could then apply that rate times the new supplier rate. So let's just say it was doubling with Eversource, right? Which you either have Eversource or UI. So that means if you're now paying 12 cents additional, you're paying an extra $120 per month starting January.
Are you ready for a successful retirement? We're addressing the topics facing today's retirees. Welcome to Retire with Ryan. Now here's your host, Ryan Morrissey.
Welcome back. This is episode 126. In this week's episode, I'd like to cover 5 tips to lower your electric bill. Energy costs have risen substantially over the past year, and there are certain things that you can do to lower your energy usage, and some without a lot of effort. And I want to cover 5 things that you can do specifically to lower your electric bill that could potentially save you hundreds of dollars a year. And it's obviously evident that natural gas and heating oil prices have risen over the past year. If you have had to fill up your oil tank recently, you're well aware that costs have risen for the cost of home heating oil and natural gas. And that is harder to control, obviously the price you're paying, but there are things you can do just specifically to lower your energy usage and your electricity usage. And there's also some things going on in Connecticut, where I'm located, that you should be aware of that will definitely impact your electric bill in the upcoming months. And there's some rather simple things, or one simple thing that you can do to potentially lower that bill. And you may have listened to episode 111, 7 ways to cut your monthly bills. If you haven't, definitely go back and listen to that. But a few of these tips I'm going to mention, I did mention in that episode, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper on them. And there's also been some changes, even in the short amount of time that I released that episode. So the number one thing that you should do, if you are located in a state like where I am in Connecticut, we are in a state that's known as a deregulated energy market. And according to Google, there are 26 states in the US that have deregulated energy. And as a result of that, there are 2 components to your electric bill. There is the supplier rate and there is the delivery rate. The delivery rate is what you get from your electric company, the cost to actually provide the electricity. And where I am in Connecticut, there are 2 electric providers. There's United Illuminating, UI, and Eversource. And on your bill, on your Eversource bill, it very nicely breaks out right on the front of your bill what the cost of your total electric cost is per kilowatt hour. If you flip over the bill to the second page, it then breaks out what the difference is between the supplier rate and the delivery rate. And if you've been following local news in Connecticut, maybe even in your state, I think it's probably very similar, the supplier rate is going up on January 1. It's going to double. It's going to double with Eversource, and I'm not exactly sure with United Illuminating, but it was projected that it was going to more than double with United Illuminating. So that cost on my last bill was 12 cents per kilowatt hour was the supplier charge. The delivery charge was 15 cents per kilowatt hour. That you really don't have a lot of control over. And from what I've been reading, what I've been hearing, that is the regulated part of your electric costs. There's electric authorities in Connecticut. One is called PURA, the Public Regulatory Authority. I could be butchering that title, but they're supposed to regulate the cost that the electric companies are charging you for the delivery charge. However, they have no control over the supplier rate. And you may have been reading about this doubling of the supplier rate. Now, there's a lot of reasons why. And the long and short of it is that the cost for the electric companies to get the fuel to burn, which is mostly liquid natural gas, to actually supply the electricity that we use, because very few electric providers now are using coal, so it's mostly natural gas, has gone up significantly, right? Part of that's due to the Ukraine war. Part of that is maybe due to just poor planning in our states to actually get the natural gas that we need to burn. I know Connecticut is very restrictive with apparently the pipelines that we have, so we need more pipelines to supply that liquid natural gas, is what I've been hearing. So you do have control, however, over the supplier rate. And there's a website that I've mentioned before, which is energizect.com. that's definitely the first place that you should go anytime you're looking at your supplier rates. Now, I can't speak for other states. I know I have some other listeners in other states. I appreciate your listenership, but you'd want to do some research. Maybe you're even already aware of this, but find out if there's a similar website for your state. So when I went to that website a couple of weeks ago, when I started reading about this supplier rate doubling, I was able to find a rate with Constellation Energy that was 13.78 cents per kilowatt hour. So that was just a little bit more than I was currently paying of 12 cents, but it's a lot less than with Eversource, which is projected to go up January 1 to 24.17 cents per kilowatt hour. So that if you were to switch over to a company like Constellation, and I don't work for Constellation, I don't benefit, you should definitely do your own research by going to Energize CT, but a couple weeks ago, they were the lowest supplier rate, and as of when I'm recording this now, the very end of November, you'd have a significant savings. So let's just say you use 1,000 kilowatt hours per month of electricity, right? You could find that out by looking over your bill or your past few bills. You could then apply that rate times the new supplier rate. So let's just say it was doubling with Eversource, right? Which you either have Eversource or UI. So that means if you're now paying 12 cents additional, you're paying an extra $120 per month starting January. And that is going to be in place until the supplier rate changes. Now, from what I understand, these supplier rates change every 6 months. So that will be the rate with Eversource and what the rate is with UI for the next 6 months, and then the rate will adjust. So if you switch over, then you'll be able to save as long as the rates stay high. Now, if the rates drop back again, you have a couple options. In Connecticut, there's no cost to switch from electric suppliers. And it used to be the case years ago that there were penalties to switch and it would take a long period of time. Now there's no penalty, but it takes approximately 1 to 2 billing cycles, which is about a month to a month and a half for your supplier to actually make that change to go into the new supplier. So that if let's say you did move over to Constellation Energy, right now they're offering a rate of 16.59 cents per kilowatt hour for 36 months. And you switched over to that. And then UI supplier rate dropped down 6 months from now. Maybe the cost of liquid natural gas goes down and they go back down to 12 cents. Well, you'd obviously be paying 4 cents more by staying with Constellation. But if you switched back over to UI, you now would then be back on UI's rate. It would take 1 to 2 billing cycles for it to happen, but it's probably something worthwhile to consider doing. And this is an easy thing that you can do. You can usually just do this right online. If you go to energizect.com and you follow the prompts, it'll ask you whether you're a residential or business customer, who your supplier is, and then you go to the rate page. So I should take a step back. Right on the home page, right in the middle, it says check supplier rates or supplier rate board. And from there, you then can see the rates. So once you're locked in, you really don't need to watch this unless you start to see on your bill, probably 6 months from now, that the supplier rate goes down below what you're paying, and then maybe you might want to switch. Or you could check every so often, and if there's a better supplier rate, then you can switch over to that, but you'll be locked in for 36 months. So definitely look at doing that. That would be the number one thing that you could do to lower your electric bill costs for the next 6 months. And be aware that one negative thing is that if you move to another state, or you even move in Connecticut from one town to another, and you move from UI to Eversource or vice versa, unfortunately, you can't keep your rate with you. You'd lose your rate. You'd have to stay with the same supplier company. So the tip number 2 to lower your electric usage would be to request a home energy audit. And again, through energizect.com, it's a good place to go. You can click on request a home energy audit, and a home inspector can examine your home for possible pitfalls such as air leaks, insufficient insulation, inefficient appliances, and they can make suggestions to fix them. And if you implement these upgrades to your home, or if you're a renter and you suggest that your landlord make them and they agree to it, they can significantly cut down your electric bill and your heating cost if you're using natural gas or home heating oil, and significantly save hundreds of dollars a year, maybe thousands of dollars over the course of time. And through energizect.com, it costs $50 for this home energy audit. I believe part of this cost is subsidized. And again, you pick your energy provider, Eversource, UI, Southern Connecticut Gas, and then you sign up for the home energy audit. And the website says that you can receive up to $1,000 in services and about $200 a year in savings on your annual energy bill. And there's also, depending on your income and your family size, this $50 may also be waived. Or if you make certain upgrades, they can waive that cost. So definitely look into this as we're getting into the colder months. You want to make sure you have the right insulation, or there are things you can do to better insulate your doors and your windows, because it's going to be potentially a bad winter as far as the cold and also energy costs as well. So try to keep more of your heat inside your house. You can also call 877-WISE-USE to sign up for this or find out more. So tip number 3 is upgrade your thermostats to smart thermostats. Also through energizect.com, you can click on rebates and incentives, and from there, you can find different smart thermostats that you're available to buy. And I recently did this. I had a smart thermostat, I had a few smart thermostats, and I had one that wasn't. And I was able to buy a smart thermostat for about $70 or $80 off the cost. And normally it was about $170. I think it cost me like $90. But it's a big help because some of the things it allows you to do is, number one, programming your energy uses. So if you leave your house at a certain time every day for work and you return at a certain time during the week, you could program your heat to go down to a certain level, maybe like 60 degrees when you're not home. And then you set it to come back on. Let's say you return at 5 or 6 o'clock. The system would then come back on to reach the certain temperature that you set when you return home. So that's a real easy fix. And it's automatic, because if you have a thermostat where you have to change it every day and you forget to do it, right? You're leaving your heat on all the time. You're leaving your air conditioning on when you're not home. It's not only inefficient, but especially now you're wasting a lot of electricity or other, heating sources. So definitely thinking about doing that. And then you can get one that connects to your Wi-Fi, so that if you are, let's say you normally are home on the weekend, but you went away and you forgot to turn down your thermostat, well, you could log in to the app on your phone and you could then make the change right there. I find that really helpful sometimes. Or you can just check in and see what the temperature set. So if you leave it to a certain temperature, but your spouse turns it up, you can see what's going on there. So you can maybe check in on them. But definitely think about getting a smart thermostat or getting one through your own state's energy website. Maybe they offer a rebate as well. Or, just getting one in general, right? You can get different ones. They don't have to be the most expensive, but allowing you to program it and maybe connect to the internet is really helpful. Tip number 4, switch over to LED bulbs. It's estimated that lighting accounts for about 15% of the average home's electricity usage, and you could save about $200 a year in energy costs by switching over to LED bulbs. And LED bulbs they produce more efficient electricity when compared to standard incandescent or compact fluorescent lamps, CFLs. And there's different websites out there, but one that I found says that the average LED bulb that's used 5 hours per day will save you $10 to $20 per year in energy costs versus an incandescent bulb. So standard lamps that you have, light fixtures, you can just buy LED bulbs and you can replace them. Or if you have recessed lighting, they sell these really nice lights that you can actually take out part of your old recessed light can, and you can screw in the LED bulb. And some of them also have different light settings, so that if you like the natural light versus the soft white, you can change it. And most of these are estimated to last up to 10 years, so that you won't have to worry about changing light bulbs also, because it can be a pain to get your ladder out and change these bulbs. So you shouldn't have to do that for a long time. And the last tip is to consider unplugging vampire appliances. And it's estimated that certain household items are using up energy even when you're not using them, and can account for up to 10% of the average home's energy costs. So if you look around your house and you see things that you're not using that are plugged in, I always think of keeping things plugged in, but this is probably not the best thing, such as your maybe cable box, your coffee maker, charging cables, right? Different appliances that you really don't use all the time, plug them in when you use them. If it's things that are within reach, it can be easy. Obviously, if you're unplugging your TV every time, you got to reach behind your TV. That can be a nuisance, but you can also think of getting a power strip. And if the power strip is hooked up to everything, and then you turn off the power strip, that is not using electricity. So that can be another way that you could have things plugged in, but shut down the electricity to them so that you're making sure you're not having this vampire power. There's different schools of thought, but most people do believe things are plugged in, they're using electricity. So I hope these tips help as far as trying to help you lower your electric costs, and definitely follow up on at least tip number 1 by going to, especially if you're a Connecticut resident, you haven't started switching your energy supplier, go to energizect.com and switch your energy supplier. And if you can't do it online, then consider calling one of these companies directly. Thanks for tuning in this week. And as always, if you have a listener question, please feel free to upload your listener question at retirewithryan.com. Have a great week, and I look forward to talking with you next Wednesday. Take care.
You should consult a financial advisor familiar with your specific circumstances before you make any financial decisions. Nothing in this broadcast constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Any mention of rates of return are historical or hypothetical in nature and are not a guarantee of future returns. Ryan Morrissey, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Morrissey Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.